Pursuant to notice, I now call up H.R. 2505, the Block the Use of Transatlantic Technology in Iranian-Made Drones Act. The bill was circulated in advance, and the clerk shall designate the bill.
H.R. 2505, to require the development of strategies and options to prevent the export of Iran and certain technologies related to unmanned aircraft systems and for other purposes. Be it enacted by the Senate and the
Without
House.
objection, the first reading is dispensed with, and the bill is considered read and open to amendment at any point. I now recognize and support myself in support of this bill. I want to thank my colleague, Representative Keating, for leading this important bill. Iran's continued proliferation of lethal drones represents a clear and direct threat to the U.S. security. Through the development and export of low-cost, long-range unmanned aerial vehicles, most notably the Shahed series, Iran has enabled asymmetric warfare across multiple regions. We've all witnessed this. According to the Global Terrorism Trends and Analysis Center,
20 months now, we have witnessed the genocide of the Palestinian people, and you guys have done nothing to stop the starvation of these people.
according to the Global Terrorism Trends and Analysis Center, most UAVs deployed in conflicts across the world today originate from Iran. We've seen them used for years by Iran's proxies in places like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. Indeed, just last week, Yemeni forces interdicted a significant shipment of lethal Iranian weapons, including missiles and critical UAV components destined for the Houthis, just days after the Houthis sunk not one but two commercial ships transiting the Red Sea, killing at least 4 innocent mariners. More recently, we've seen them used by Iran directly, including against our friend and ally Israel. And it's been well documented that Iranian drones have played a pivotal role in fueling Vladimir Putin's illegal war of aggression against Ukraine. As this demonstrates, the proliferation of Iranian drones is not merely a regional concern, it's a global challenge. Their adaptability has allowed state and non-state actors to bypass traditional military constraints. Iranian strategy of exporting drone technology to support indigenous production has exacerbated this threat, amplifying the reach and capabilities of these terrorist groups and providing Iran with a low-cost means of testing regional defenses. Addressing this threat requires coordinated international efforts to disrupt supply chains, enforce export controls, and invest in counter-drone technologies. The unchecked spread of Iranian UAVs, including to terror proxies like the Houthis, risks normalizing the use of unmanned systems in conflict zones, escalating tensions and eroding regional stability. I urge my colleagues to join me in robustly supporting this piece of legislation. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Ranking Member Meeks, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Representative Keating for his continued leadership in advancing bipartisan efforts to counter Iran's drone program, a threat that continues to bring devastating harm to civilians and critical infrastructure in Ukraine and Israel. And I encourage my colleagues to support this bipartisan bill to help ensure that the United States and European technologies smuggled via illicit intermediaries don't fuel Iran's drone program. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Iran has exported thousands of Shahed drones to the Russian military, fueling attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure. In June alone, over 5,400 Iranian-made drones were launched into Ukrainian airspace, an average of more than 100 per day, with a single coordinated assault on July 9th involving 728 drones. Iranian drones have been used to strike residential neighborhoods, hospitals, schools, and power plants, overwhelming Ukraine's air defenses and deepening the humanitarian crisis. At the same time, Iran has armed Hamas and other terrorist groups in the Middle East with similar drones, which played a direct role in the October 7th attack and murders of scores of Israeli civilians. This legislation is a timely and necessary response. We know from recent declassified analysis, including by the Defense Intelligence Agency, that many of the components recovered from Iranian drones originated from the United States and European manufacturers. Despite existing sanctions, H.R. 2505 closes critical gaps in enforcement and aligns our intelligence and interdiction policies with our national security interests. This is not just a non-proliferation issue. It's about protecting innocent civilians, defending our allies, and confronting a clear and growing threat. Nothing in this bill authorizes the use of military force, and any administration must seek the authority of the United States Congress before engaging in warfare with Iran or any other entity. All tools of American power should be used to stop Iran's nefarious behavior. But diplomacy and other methods of soft power should always be the tip of the spear. This bill helps our government better deploy such tools, and I urge all members to support this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Representative yields back. Is there any further discussion? Representative Keating.
Thank you, Chairman Mast. Thank you, Ranking Member Meeks, for holding this markup and for bringing forward my legislation, H.R. 2505, to block the use of transatlantic technology in Iranian-made drones act for consideration here today. Since February 24, 2022, we've seen the impact of Iranian-made drones on the battlefield in Ukraine. As Ukrainians bravely fight Russian aggression and continue to defeat Russian military equipment with superior U.S. and European defense equipment, Russia has turned to its allies, China, North Korea, and Iran, to supplement its war effort. The extent of the Iranian-Russian partnership was shown in 2025 when both countries finalized and signed a 20-year strategic partnership to expand their bilateral ties and deepen the defense cooperation by closely coordinating their activities at the regional and at the global level. This pact assures both countries will work together against common military threats, strengthen the military technological cooperation, and ensure participation in joint exercises. This is a timely and troubling development as Iran seeks new international partners following the steady erosion of its proxy network and as Russia searches for new pathways to influence the Middle East through the fall of Russian-backed Assad regime in Syria. At the same time, we know that Iran and its proxies, like Hamas and Hezbollah, have repeatedly used drones to disable Israeli communications and surveillance capabilities and attack Israeli citizens and its infrastructure. Most recently, in the two-week conflict between Iran and Israel, Iran launched more than 1,000 drones at Israeli territory. The threat from Iranian drones remains ever present, and as Iran continues to expand its regional and international military presence, we must act in response with a whole-of-government approach to target Iran's steadily advancing drone program and to prevent the illegal export of U.S. and European technology for use in Iranian-made drones. This is why I introduced H.R. 2505. This legislation requires the Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Defense to each draft strategies and report to Congress on actions that have been taken to prevent the illegal export of certain U.S. technologies to Iran and to Iran's related unmanned aircraft systems. This bill ensures that the subcomponents that are key to the manufacturing and functioning of unmanned aircraft systems like microcontrollers, voltage regulators, digital signal controllers, GPS modules, and microprocessors are not exported from the United States for use in any aspect of the design, development, and production of operational employment of Iranian-made unmanned aircraft systems. This legislation also includes provisions to ensure the Secretary of State is working with allies and partners to synchronize our export control regimes and to close loopholes related to the illegal export of U.S. and European technology for use in Iranian drones. I want to thank Chairman Joe Wilson for being an original co-sponsor of this legislation, both this Congress and the Congress before, and I want to thank other bipartisan members who have co-sponsored. I also want to thank the committee leadership for coming together to a bipartisan agreement on this particular text. I firmly believe that this legislation furthers U.S. policy towards our allies in Ukraine and in Israel, improves our export control regime, and punishes Iran for its malign influence campaigns. I strongly urge my colleagues to join me in supporting this legislation, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Any further discussion on the bill? You're raising your hand, Mr. Kane. Representative Kane is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm pleased to support this important legislation that block the use of transatlantic technology in Iranian-made drones act with my esteemed colleagues. This bill addresses the growing concern of drone proliferation as Iran seeks to obtain the latest technologies in modern warfare. We have seen that the danger Iran poses, and we must ensure that they do not obtain the latest drone technologies. The consequences of drone warfare have devastated Ukraine as Russia continues to target Ukraine with unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs. I think we can all agree, regardless of party, that we need to work with our partners and our allies to ensure that technologies critical to UAV proliferation do not end up in the wrong hands. We have seen the damage that UAVs have done in Ukraine. I'd encourage my colleagues to support this legislation to further peace and stability in the Middle East. I support this effort, and I encourage all of my colleagues to do the same. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Any further debate? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And indeed, I'm grateful to be working with Congressman Keating in regard to this legislation and how important it is that we address the threat of the regime in Tehran and also war criminal Putin. In line with that, I am really hopeful, too, that at some time soon we can address the issue of repealing the Caesar Act. The people of Syria have remarkably overthrown the dictatorship of Bashar al-Assad. Appropriately, he has fled to Moscow. I take it personally because in November, I was identified as an enemy of the Syrian state. Well, I was an enemy of the state, but a supporter of the people of Syria. And so I'm so grateful that, again, for the people of Syria, they now have a new government. We have the prospects of Assad living in Moscow. That must be an interesting place. In addition to that, working together with our allies of Turkey, with Saudi Arabia, with Jordan, to help build a secure Syria. And the greatest beneficiary of that would be the people of Israel, to have a level of security and not a fragmented Syria. So I look forward to working with the chairman, as we have in the past, for the provision of having a repeal of the Caesar Act so that the companies can truly invest in the new Syria, which would be very beneficial, first of all, for the people of Israel. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Any further discussion? There being no further discussion of the bill, the committee will move for consideration of amendments. Does any member wish to offer an amendment? There being no amendments, I move that committee report H.R. 2505 to the House with a favorable recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to, and a recorded vote has been requested. Roll call vote has been requested pursuant to chair's previous announcement. This vote will be postponed.